Hi, welcome to the High Desert Yarn YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be showing you how we're going to seam up our Raven Ribbed Beanie. So here is my finished beanie. It's all laid out flat in a rectangle, and today I'm going to show you how we're going to stitch up the sides together and weave around the top of the hat to make it nice and tight. So what you need to do is once you're finished with your square or your rectangle, you're going to have it facing you. And this is the right side, and you can tell what the right side is based on the ribbing. The ribbing needs to be facing out, and the wrong side is going to be more flat. So be sure that the right side is facing out, and we're going to join these two corners right here. So you can tell this is where I finished my last row. Right along here, my last row will be a double crochet. And then I like to seam up the beanie with just a simple slip stitch to kind of recreate the webbing. So let me zoom in so you can see a little bit better. So I'm going to put my yarn back into that loop, and we're going to line up the edge, the two short edges of this beanie, stitch by stitch. And we're just going to use a slip stitch. So I'm going to start from here, insert into that first stitch, and insert into the last stitch of the last row. Yarn over, pull through a loop, and then pull through another loop, just like you would slip stitch. So just go ahead and go all the way across those short sides to make a nice long rectangular tube. And so now we're approaching the end, so just try to be sure you're lined up all of your stitches as even as possible. And we're going to go all the way to the final stitch. And we're just slip stitching all the way across. And I could probably even put in one more, probably at the top of that turning chain. All right, so I'm going to draw up a long loop. And so there, now we have a pretty invisible seam. As you can tell, it looks like it's just going to be part of the regular beanie. It is a little bit bulkier. So if you wanted to, you could skip this part and just go for a straight mattress stitch or any other way that you would like to sew up your beanie. So now we've got the beanie facing us. This is going to be at the very back of the head, and this is going to be the top of our beanie. So what we want to do, I like to fold mine in half with the seamed edge on my right hand side. And we want to make sure we have a nice long yarn tail so we can weave in and out of every single row or as we see fit along the top. So we're going to measure about probably 4 to 5 of this length. So I've got one length already. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I like to measure a little extra, and we're just going to cut, and then we'll just thread through with our tapestry needle. I like to make sure I have a little bit extra yarn on the end, especially if I have some to spare, just to make sure that I don't run out at the end. This beanie, however, doesn't use a ton of yarn. Oh my goodness, and see, now I'm having issues. There we go. All right. So we still have this loop here. We want to make sure that we kind of tie this off. So I go ahead and I just slip my yarn through that and make sure it is nice and fastened. So what we are going to do now is that we're going to take our needle and we're just going to go in from front to back. And that's through maybe the first row or maybe first the half of the double crochet row. And then we're going to go from back to front. And then you can pull each as you go, or you can do a couple stitches and then pull. But we're just going to weave this just around the top, and we're going to pull it super tight. And as you can see, we've gone maybe 2 inches, and we're just going to pull tight like that as we go. And so just be sure you're doing from front to back and then from back to front, all along this top edge. You just cinch it down. And I like to make sure I'm tucking it in because we really want that ribbing to face out. All right, so now we're coming back to the very start of closing this hat. So I could probably get in 1 to 2 more stitches. And I'm going to pull my long yarn tail all the way out, and I'm going to cinch down as tight as I can get it. And I'm going to hold that there. So now you can see there's still just a little bit of a gap that my finger can get through. So we're going to work on closing this up. But first, right here where my yarn is coming out, I'm going to pinch it as tight as I can, and we're going to put a knot right in there. I really want to make this super secure so we can throw it in the washing machine after we've worn it, or we can give it to a kid and they can throw it off and they can kind of manhandle it and it's not going to come apart. So I just put one single overhand knot in, but we still have this hole to fill in. So I like to start here on this side and go from the front of the work to the back, kind of like that, and then go straight across because it kind of makes a circle. So we're going to go kind of straight across as best you can. If it's going to be maybe just a little bulky, but it's going to work out. So I just put my yarn straight across and pull it super tight to kind of close that in. And then you can put a knot here or you can keep weaving it in. So I'm going to come over just slightly to the right and kind of cut across diagonally. And I'm placing it to the left of where I started my yarn tail over there. I like to think of this as like cutting a pizza into either 6 parts or 8 parts, as we're just slicing across that circle. Or you can just consider it going, you know, a circle doesn't have corners, but going like from corner to corner. So I'm going to hold that tight there, and I'm going to place it right along this side to kind of come across the circle from another spot. So just do that as many times as you'd like and get it as tight as you can. If you want to place knots after every cross through, you can, and just kind of tidy it up. Like I will probably put one more straight across here just to make it a little neater. And then wherever I end, I pull it as firm, as tight as I can, and I will place another knot. Just a simple overhand knot to secure it. And then I'm going to take my needle and poke it straight through the center, go in from the bottom of the hat and feel it and make sure it hasn't gone into the fabric. And I will pull it through to the inside. Then I'll turn the hat inside out, find where that's left off, make another knot, and then I will weave in that end. And if you want to make a couple knots here to make sure it's secure, or make a knot, weave it in, and then make another knot, the choice is yours. Just depends on how secure you want your end to be. So I'm going to put another knot right here. All right, now all I have to do is weave in that end. So I just like to kind of go through, and I'm trying to pick up only the back of the stitches, so this end can't be seen on the front. If you wanted to make sure you're extra careful and placed it along the back seam, you would just find that back seam from when we started and just place your end along there. And it's good to go into at least 3 directions and then kind of go back through one of the directions you went along to make sure it's extra secure. And then I'm going to place one more knot right here where I finished that in. All right. And then I'm just going to do one more time, weave it in a little bit longer. And then I'll be done, I promise. I like to make my ends a little extra secure just in case as they do get worn and kind of unravel, this end might loosen up, and then I can easily tuck it back in. So now I'm going to flip it right side out. And then we still have this starting tail to weave in. But you can see the start of our hat. We zoom out, and then you can see there's the start of our hat. This is the back. So let me weave in this end real quick, and then we can finish it off. If I can get the end on the needle. There we go. So again, I'm just gonna, since this is going to be along the back seam, I'm just going to flip it over and just weave up and down along that back seam. All right, pull it snug and then pull it back a little bit. Trim. And there we go. And there is the Raven Ribbed Beanie. I did make the toddler size for my daughter. And then you can fold up the brim to make a nice folded fitted beanie, or you can leave the brim a little bit longer and have just a super simple slouchy beanie. Thank you so much for following along today. If you enjoyed this tutorial and you want to see more, be sure you subscribe and give this video a like. Thank you so much for watching.